As endurance athletes, we are known for pushing ourselves hard week in, week out throughout our training. However, there is a limiting factor to the quality and value we can get out of our training, and that is recovery. Now, you might hear athletes and coaches saying recovery is key. But what does that even mean? How do we know if we've recovered properly? Well, that's what we're here to answer today. There are two main fundamentals to recovery: having proper nutrition and quality sleep. Well, let's take a look at sleep first. And this is most probably the most important one, but it's also one of the easiest to be overlooked. There's a lot of studies that actually prove that a good amount of quality sleep can have a positive impact on your performance, but also can help improve your mental well-being. When we think about sleep, there are actually two factors you want to make sure you've got covered. One is the quantity, the amount of time you're actually spending asleep, and maybe the more important one is quality. Now, we are all obviously different and we have different requirements depending on what we're doing, but also just how our bodies react. But it's roughly thought of as 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night should be enough for most human adults. And during this time, it's when your body is letting the muscles recover through protein synthesis and also the release of the human growth hormone. And then the quality of your sleep can be affected by many factors, but one of which can actually be your training, which is ironic because you need the recovery from it. But say you're doing a late night hard session, maybe it's track Tuesdays, or in the summer you're doing a midweek ride with your friends and it gets quite intense. Or by the time you get home and you've had a shower, you've eaten, you've hydrated, it's already quite late, but you're normally quite buzzing from that, and it can take quite a long time to really wind down and be able to get into that quality sleep. So you could look at potentially rearranging your day if this is something you struggle with, and trying to do your more intense, harder sessions earlier on in the day, and then winding down with something in the evening such as yoga that's just going to help you get into that more relaxed state. Let's say you're training 3 or 4 times a week, and maybe most of those sessions are on the weekend, and you're having regular good quality sleep with a decent nutrition plan that's just coming from your regular meals. Well, in that case, you should be able to recover adequately between all of those sessions. If, however, you're training every day or maybe even several times a day, then you're going to need to potentially up your recovery strategy and look at your nutrition in a little bit more detail. So essentially, there are 2 important nutrition windows after your training session, and these become more important if you've done a particularly hard or a long training session. The first and most important of these 2 windows is around 20 to 30 minutes after your exercise. And this is to try and replenish some of the carbohydrates and proteins that your body will have used up. Now, especially if it's been a longer or a really hard session, you will have depleted quite a lot of carbohydrate during that. So you want to find a snack or a recovery drink that's got a ratio of around 3 to 1 or 4 to 1 of carbohydrates to protein. So around 1 gram per kilo of body weight of carbohydrate, which is going to give you around 200 to 300 calories, depending obviously on your weight. Now, the idea of these is the carbohydrate is going to replenish those glycogen stores that have been depleted, but also there's some protein in there that's going to help with repairing your muscles. And from a practical point of view, you need to just try and think ahead and plan a little bit when it comes to your nutrition. So say you're doing a training session away from home, like you're going to the gym or the pool, then think about what you'll want to have afterwards that you can start to replenish those depleted stores. So whether that's a sports bar or banana, something that you can easily eat on the way home. And then you need to address the protein side of things as well. And it's thought that in this first window, you need somewhere around 10 to 20 grams of protein. And a great way of doing this is through a protein recovery drink. And if you're organized, you could simply take your bottle with some powder already in it, measured out for the right quantity, and then add the milk or the water once you've done your session, and you can use that on the way home. Or you've even got the options of sachets, like the ones that we have from our channel partner at Newzest, where you simply have that already measured out, pour it into your bottle, and you're good to go. And that will give you around 21 grams of protein. Also, not everyone is able to take on solid food as a recovery when you've done a hard session. You've got that feeling where the last thing you want is to actually eat something, but a recovery drink can be the perfect replacement in that scenario. And beyond this immediate window, you've got the second window that's around 1 to 3 hours afterwards. And it does depend a little bit on how hungry you are. But here, again, as with the first window, it's not necessarily about taking on a huge amount of quantity. It's more about making sure you get the right balance. So it is going to be a more substantial meal at this point, and you want to make sure you've got a good balance of proteins, carbohydrates, and healthy fats. So you could have something simple like some grilled chicken with a pasta salad, or an omelette with some avocado. Or if you are still struggling to digest something that's really like whole food, you could go for a smoothie that's got fruit and yogurt and maybe a little bit of protein powder added in. By combining both of these recovery windows, you should be able to make sure you've got that correct balance of nutrition and really helping your body to optimize its recovery. So you're replenishing those glycogen stores we've already talked about and really giving your muscles the best chance of rebuilding and recovering, ready for your next session. Another aspect that shouldn't be overlooked under nutrition is hydration. Now, hopefully you're still going to be just naturally hydrating throughout the day, irrelevant of your training. But if you are doing a particularly hard session or you're doing a lot of training indoors, then you want to try and make sure that you've got an electrolyte drink as well. So you're making sure you replenish those salts which you wouldn't get from water alone. Although the emphasis for good recovery is those two key pillars, so your quality nutrition and making sure you've got your quality sleep, there are still several other methods that can help to complement this recovery for your body, making sure it's ready for the next session. And you need to look at nutrition as a whole, so not just after the sessions, but making sure that you've got healthy nutrition covering all of the food groups you need, irrelevant of a training day, because it does add up. And a lot of people do choose to take some multivitamins. You've also got the option of the increased popularity in essential greens. For example, we've got the Good Green Vitality from Nuzest, which is something that can just help make sure you've got everything covered. And then there's a physical aspect of looking after your body. So you might want to do a bit of self-massage or foam rolling, get a massage ball, make sure you do 10 to 15 minutes of stretching after a hard session. Just getting something like that into your routine is going to help your body stay in a good shape. And there are a few more expensive options, such as booking in for a regular sports massage or even investing in some compression equipment. It's all going to help with getting your body ready for that next training session. Consistency, as we know, is always key with training and becoming a better athlete. Well, making sure you're on top of your recovery will allow you to become consistent in your training, and it's one big happy circle. So let us know what recovery options you use in between your training sessions, especially if you're doing multiple ones in a day, so we can all learn from each other. You can do that in the comments section below. And if you have enjoyed it, remember, give us a like. You can follow us on our social media channels, and you can also subscribe to us here on YouTube.